evening, ladies and gentlemen. Where are you watching us from? Let me know in the comment section. Welcome to KISE live stream brought to you by Kenya Institute of Software Engineering and Professional Studies. I hope you are having a lovely week, as it is already on a Wednesday and it's end month. And I remember we were talking about goals. So what goals or what achievements have you achieved so far that you had in place for yourself, or some of the things that you wanted to achieve before the end of March? So today in the studio, as you can see, I'm joined by a lovely person that you're going to be interviewing. But before we get to that, I want you to drop a comment about anything or any question that you want us to answer. Welcome, feel at home, and karibuni sana. It's always a pleasure to have you in our presence. So please, without much further ado, let me welcome him. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And bila kupoteza wakati, can we just dig right into the conversation? Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Asante kwa kunikaribisha. Kwa majina, my name is Mr. Andrew Wanjao. I'm a teacher and a trainer in KISE in the engineering department. Here we deal with electrical and electronics.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about robotics. So what is robotics in general?
Robotics in general is the study of robots. And when we talk about robots, it's just a form of engineering in things that, or machines that can help us solve issues. Okay? If you're talking about a human, it's basically a replica of a human, meaning that we're extending our functionalities. So how can we develop them? How can we operate them? How can we improve our society in general?
And what is a robot?
A robot basically is a programmable machine. And the reason why it's programmable is we have to be able to instruct it to do what we want it to do. Now, for example, if I'm disabled, or if I want to accomplish certain tasks without my supervision, we can program that and let it either do it autonomously, or we can actually use control mechanisms to pass the message to it, and then it will execute.
No, that is what a robot is. Okay, and then you've talked about, is it programming or whatever?
Yes.
So that particular thing will do what you want.
Yes.
There are these things that we see in movies. For example, someone is, like you've talked about, disabled. Yes. They do not have a hand.
Yes.
And then a hand is made for them and then it's programmed. Is that also a robot or?
Yes, it is actually a robot, and the actual term to use here is augmented robot.
Okay.
So some of it can enhance our capability. Let's say a soldier, for example. It doesn't have to be actual disability.
Yeah.
So any tasks that can enhance, for example, our backbone, we want to lift heavy something.
Yeah.
It's part of augmented robotics. Now, when you're talking about amputation in your case, it's come of age. People to live a full life. So mostly that's where we're going in the development, and we use something known as because it's as
okay. That's a good one. At least now I know the difference between thing and the robot thing. Okay, so what goes into making a robot?
A robot has many components to it. Some of it we discussed with you, like programming.
Yeah.
In terms of control. So a control system for a robot is vital because we want it to exactly do what it needs to do. Okay? There's also mechanical parts. When you're talking about the mechanical construct of it, it has a physical builder to it. So that's another component to it. There's also power sources. So when you talk about powering the device, you need a power bank or power pack. Most of these can come in form of batteries, lead acid batteries, etc. There's also electrical in terms of AC source. Of course, these ones mostly will be for industrial robots, where you need high power, you need a lot of reliability. Of course, then there's robots which are autonomous in nature. This one really heavily rely on battery. Okay. There's also other constant or components to a robot. If you're talking about sensors and actuators. Sensors, because robots kind of mimic humans, they need to be able to interact with the environment. Okay? So for example, if I did this to you, you will feel that.
Yeah.
Okay? So that there's a sensor there. Okay?
Yeah.
Maybe a camera can provide visual reference to a robot. Okay? A mic is also maybe the ear for a robot. Okay? So all these things go into making a robot. Then, of course, the robot has to do some work. So there's an end effector to it. Okay? For example, for a human, the end effector is a hand. Okay? For a robot now, because we want to use it for multi-purposes, the end effectors can be removed. Okay? So if I wanted to grab this piece of paper, a hand-like end effector is important. If I want to cut, okay, there's shears you can replace, and it will cut metal for you. Maybe it's a laser, okay?
Yeah.
So it's guided and it performs the functions.
Okay.
Now, there's also something else. When we're talking about robots, there are different constructs of robots. There are robots which are, they can move about in different degrees of freedom. Okay? So the conversation can keep going, but I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, it was getting a little bit interesting, and I'm loving it because who doesn't want to know about robots anyway?
Definitely.
So, and another thing, another question that we have for you is why a robot?
Why a robot? Now, a robot, in a nutshell, helps us perform tasks. Be it in your household. For example, we talked about maybe you want something to get you your groceries, cut your groceries, do things that you're bored of doing. Robots can be for security. Okay? For example, maybe it's an old lady. Okay? She's not too secure in her household, and she wants a fighting robot. Okay?
Yeah.
So, okay, that's for household use, but then there's the industrial use. For example, in a production line, okay, there's jobs which are repetitive and boring.
Yeah.
Okay? So maybe like moving your arm more than 1,000 times, just moving a component in a production line. So you'd rather have a robot which will not get tired, and it's able to precisely do repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
Okay? So in industry, it's very important. Of course, now It comes with a lot of benefits, cost-saving benefits. Okay? If you're dealing with employees, they have issues, they're not very compliant. Robots are very compliant.
Yeah, it's structured to do so.
It's structured to do that, and it gets the instructions only once, and it's reliable to execute.
Yeah, and then there's something I do not really understand. You've talked about robots for the, like domestic use and for the industrial use.
Yes.
So when I watch movies, or rather when I watch documentaries, I see like, let's say for example in the production of noodles, you see that the cups are being pushed by a machine, and then there's a refill and stuff like that going on. Are those robots or
Yes, they're actual industrial robots, and for the reasons we just discussed, they're employed there to maintain quality and standardization of products. Remember, when you involve many hands in production, things can differ.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe the way of the products can be a bit off. Okay, so we want
uniformity.
Yeah. And that one now brings about quality assurance.
Yeah.
So truly it is actually an industrial robot.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is answered, of course.
Yes.
And is there certain knowledge or specific knowledge required in robotics?
Definitely there is, because now we're talking about technology, and technology comes from more informed position.
Yeah.
Like when you think of powering a robot, you need electricity, knowledge in electricity.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe when you're now trying to link up actuators and sensors, all of those need electronics now. Okay, so you're shifting to electronics. Now there's also control systems. This one now rely heavily on digital electronics. So part of electronics as well. There's other knowledge areas which are important. Of course, physics, math. These ones are kind of foundation. You need to be able to know how bodies in the space interact with each other. So units of measurements such as speed, weight. So a robot is in space, it needs to orient, it needs to move objects. So there's power requirements, there's precision, all of that rely on math and physics.
Okay, I was going to ask the role math plays, but you've already answered, so I'm not going to ask that.
Yes.
So another question is about ethical consideration of robots or robotics.
Now, when you talk about robots, again, it's a piece of technology that we involve in our lives. It has capability to disrupt our normal lives. For example, if you talk about a robot which is in the house, it has other technologies associated with it. For example, machine learning. We have ambient technology, meaning that technology on the go. We also have IoT, Internet of Things. All of it is an ecosystem that kind of exposes us to things like privacy concerns. We also have job losses, in case of industry. If a robot can replace 20 workers, this is an ethical consideration. We want to lose people to lose their livelihoods. It might be attractive in terms of cost saving, but morally, is it okay? So those are ethical considerations. Other ones would include maybe technological disruption. as technology evolves, it's evolving at a very fast pace. Okay? Sometimes it can go at breakneck speed, meaning that the society is not ready for it. Okay? So it can now catalyze political disruptions or things that kind of disrupt our way of life. Because, for example, if all of a sudden all jobs are taken by robots, it can ferment political dissent, okay? Causing maybe instability, okay? Change of government. For example, right now, if you know, in some other countries, the price of bread has gone up.
Yes.
It brings unrest.
Let me cut you short. Like in some other countries or in our country.
I don't know if we are there yet. But I know in Sudan, for example, maybe I shouldn't be mentioning those names, but we know just a small increase in cost of living can catalyze political disruptions, dissent. So technological adoption can also do the same. Okay? Another maybe final thing I want to talk about is singularity. Now, when you talk about robots, there's laws associated with robots. I don't know if you are aware of that.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Let me mention this guy known as George Devol. Or actually, he's the first person to invent robots. These were used in industrial place. Okay? But then, before that, there's a guy known as Asimov. Okay? Asimov. He came up with 3 laws, and he said robots cannot harm humans. Okay? Secondly, he came also with another law that a robot cannot allow itself to be harmed, as long as it doesn't hurt or maybe contradict the first law. Okay?
Of which is harming the humans now.
Yes.
Okay.
So it has the right to protect itself. Okay. And a robot. Okay. Anyways, check out the laws. I know you people have access to those laws. Now, robots can evolve to a point where they require their own rights. Sort of affirmative action.
Okay, just like humans.
Just like humans.
Okay.
In fact, when we talk about not Samantha, I don't know if Samantha is actually purely a robot, but
is it a robot or a doll? I don't know.
It's a doll, right?
It's kind of a robot, let's say that, because it's also programmed, right?
But it's very dead,
Yeah.
So, but there was Sophia. I think Sophia is a humanoid, which is a type of robot, a humanoid. And in fact, when you now talk about gender of robots, genoids are the female appearing kind of robots. And then we also have the androids, which are male. Okay? So you can already now see they're assuming very intimate part of our nature. Okay? Then they will start saying we need our own rights. Okay? So they will come up with affirmative actions to represent those rights. Okay? And then from there, they will need legal representations. A robot can sue you just in case you offended it. Okay? If it slapped you or did something harmful to you, you can take it to court and it can have legal representation.
Okay.
Then, of course, technology is evolving. It will get to a point a robot might deem humans unnecessary.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean? Can you expound on that?
So, it's singularity in the sense that it's a it has transcended and become godlike. Okay?
Oh.
So it doesn't need humans anymore. It assumes absolute control. So it can all of a sudden determine that humans are not necessary. We are enough in numbers. We are capable of replicating ourselves.
You think so? Because it's programmed by us,
It is.
we humans.
Yes.
So at what point will it take for the robot to get to deem humans?
Now, if they cannot override the laws of robots,
Okay.
that's a kind of a fail-safe for us. But just like us, how we can, some people have called themselves gods.
Yeah.
We have leaders who are autocratic in nature. Okay, so the robots can too break these laws, and they can transcend, become sentient beings. Okay, people who are above us and can say definitely we don't need maybe people in Africa. Okay, let's reserve the slaves up north. Okay? Or they can totally annihilate us. So that's ethical considerations. Are we willing to take that risk? So I guess it's a personal or a collective decision.
It's up to us humans.
Definitely.
Or do I call them the producers or the programmers of the robots?
The problem, but it's multidiscipline kind of. So even for people in government, policymakers, okay, definitely. For example, Kenya banned use of robot in terms of drones a while back.
Yeah.
Now I think you have a license requirement to operate them.
Yeah.
So stakeholders are broad, but it's definitely at the individual level. Do we want to even have a robot wake up next to us, etc.? Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. And where can someone or where can one learn robot?
Now, of course, robots can be used for entertainment.
Yeah.
So, for example, flying drones is a boy or boy-child kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some robots are for entertainment purely. Okay. So for this kind of level of robots, you can learn online. A lot of resources are available out there, from tutorials, etc. Okay. But then sometimes we need to be a bit technical. Apart from enrolling in university, there is vocational training, such as here in KISE, where you can learn these things. Okay? Of course, at the moment, we are doing Arduino engineering, which is just introducing. Okay? When we talk about Arduino, it's just a microcontroller, open source, and it's basically the brain of a computer or a robot. Okay? So these things, while they're available there, this is a conducive environment for you people who are interested to come and learn. Okay?
And where do you see, or how do you see the future of robots in Africa? Let me just say in Africa because it's not common as in the Western.
Yes.
So you see the future of robots.
The future is bright. And in fact, when we talk about the future being bright, we have in mind anyone who is interested to take this as a course.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we are an aspiring country in terms of industrial. Okay? Of course, this one heavily relies on government policy. Okay? We all know of Vision 2030.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a line where we want to be.
a big part of that is,
and robots will be very useful to achieve that. Okay, so if we now try to contextualize the whole thing in terms of geopolitics, East Africa community has expanded. We have like at least 7 member countries offering just a population of about 300 million people. Okay? So all these people require products. Okay?
Yeah.
And we cannot rely on the ancient ways of producing things. Okay? So if somebody
makes an order of maybe 50,000 books or 50,000, whichever it is, we need to do that very fast and hit the market. Okay?
Yeah.
So you cannot do that using ancient ways or archaic ways. We have to rely on.
How do you see it?
So the future
is something
is
which will happen? So now it will take a long time, like you said, the vision 20.
It's actually ongoing. There's a lot of industries already using robotics. Okay? You can think of, for example, a production line in ELB, East Africa. If you now think of other places, we have a place where they manufacture or produce pineapples. Del Monte. Yes. For some reason that was okay. They already employ some form of robotics.
Oh really?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Because the machines are programmed and they now do the repetitive tasks. Okay. For example, constructing the tins to store the pineapples. Of course, it's used everywhere.
Okay, but it was getting interesting. That's why I'm still listening to you.
Yes.
So that was it for now, but we still have some questions for you. I'm going to read the comments and all that, but before we go on into that, what would you tell someone who is watching us who has not yet decided on their career path, or someone who's out there and they are waiting to join the university or colleges and all that, and they do not know exactly what they want to do?
The first thing I would like to encourage, especially our young people, is we have to get out there and expose ourselves. And the easiest means of doing that, of course, we live in the information age. Okay? Everybody has access to gadgets, be it phones, be it laptops, etc. Okay? So there's an abundance of knowledge there. Okay? If you hit up YouTube, for example, and just do a quick search, you'll be able to find almost immediately what you're interested in. Okay? So again, now it depends what you want. Some people are there for entertainment. Some people want to do manufacturing. Others just want to do maybe marketing. The field is limitless. Okay? Now, for our young people, I would encourage them to get out there, go after this knowledge. Okay? You know the saying, seeking, he who seeks shall find. It's never too late to do this. And of course, when I say it's never late to do this, also I'm targeting the older folks. Of course, people who are already in the industry, but of course, if you're in the industry, you realize that technology is evolving. Okay? So you have to strategically position yourself so you're not left behind. Okay? So, of course, apart from going out there for social media or information available in internet. You can seek knowledge, maybe even here at KISE. There's an ecosystem of very useful maybe courses that you can pursue. And another advantage of maybe pursuing your knowledge gain here is that there's a lot of teamwork. Okay? So you're sitting with a student from marketing, you're sitting with a student from GE, okay? Or you're sitting with a student from software engineering, maybe electricity or electronics. Okay? So just by being present in that kind of atmosphere, you're able to learn things even you didn't know. And then,
No, I'm saying exactly.
Yes, and then of course there's programs, extracurricular. Okay? Students are encouraged to kind of come up with projects. Okay? Again, this one allows you a platform to express yourself. Okay? So while you can do that here, even at home, try simple projects. Do your small part to better our society. Because in the absence of growth, we can't get too far. And the world at large is very competitive. Your compatriots in other countries, they're exposed to this knowledge and they are able to now become the producers of tomorrow. So if our people do not produce, they will become consumers. And to be honest, this is not a safe place to be. Okay? You can consume, but at the same time, you can also produce. Okay? Because then in politics, we also want to be able to call the shots. Okay? Maybe drive the policy even at the global stage. Okay? But if we rely on others, definitely they will be at liberty to step on us. Okay? So our young people in Kenya and in Africa, let's step up to the challenge and on the system and our knowledge.
Okay, thank you so much. And before you even release you, there is a question that is coming in from one of our audience from on Facebook, and it's a question about the robot thing. So they are asking, is my phone a robot?
Now, it is to some extent, because you can program, like set the alarm, it will wake you up, okay? But it has a physical form, so that's one thing. It's programmable. So those are kind of the traits we're looking for when we're trying to define a robot. Okay? Now, of course, while I'm answering that question, there's software robots, like if you talk about web crawlers, okay? If you launched your site and you want it to be ranked by Google, there's web crawlers that can do that, okay? But then they are not truly robots because they lack a physical form. But in general, that term is still used to refer to web crawlers, which kind of, through software, are able to do some robot-like tasks.
So it's kind of a robot in a way, because you've talked about the male robots being referred to as androids.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope your question has been answered, and thank you so much for sticking through up to this far. We really appreciate you. If you want more details about anything, you can reach us on our website at Kenya Institute of Engineering and Professional Studies. We are going to take a short break. We will be back more with more. Yes.